Man, his daddy, Austin's father, just bomb rushed Karmelo Anthony's family and them things. Check this out. So they was out doing a press release, and the Dallas police had to be called to get Austin's father up out of there, man. They're mad because Karmelo Anthony's family has raised this money, and they living in a gated community. And apparently, Austin's family and friends weren't able to even raise the amount of money that they say that they needed. Is that hate? Why was he there? Karmelo Anthony's family was going to be speaking out at a press conference for the first time publicly. And they had to get Austin's father to be up out of there? Is this that same bully behavior that got Austin killed? Is this that same bully behavior that got Austin killed? Let them people live in peace, man. Leave them alone, man. Oh, my God. Man.
All right, guys, so we got to follow up on the viral story involving Austin Metcalf and Karmelo Anthony. Now, all of you guys should be familiar with the story unless you're living under a rock, watching MSNBC or CNN, okay? And all of you guys who have been watching my channel should be familiar with where I stand on this story, okay, this topic. As of right now, the overwhelming evidence suggests that Karmelo Anthony, the young black teenager that stabbed Austin Metcalf, the young white teenager, to death during a track meet, I believe that Karmelo Anthony has a very, very, very weak case of self-defense, okay? I think that it is clear that he should not have used deadly force in response to a situation that clearly did not require deadly force for him to defend himself. Using a knife in response to a push, I think everybody knows who has common sense that again, is not appropriate, and there was no real reason for Karmelo Anthony to fear for his life, okay? And every single defense attorney that I've listened to, I've not found one defense attorney that believes that Karmelo Anthony has a strong case of self-defense. A vast majority of them believe that this likely is not self-defense and that he's going to have a really tough time in court as it stands right now with the current evidence that we have. Now, who knows? That could change, okay? It could change. I don't know, okay? Because the woke revolutionaries, the pro-blacks, they swear up and down that the story that we have right now, based off all the credible witness testimony, the affidavits, news clips, everything that we have right now, they swear up and down that that's not the real story. The real story is that Karmelo Anthony was jumped by Austin Metcalf and his brother Hunter Metcalf, even though there is zero, absolutely zero credible evidence whatsoever to back up this claim.
Not only did he touch him, he put his hands on him to try to remove him, according to the witnesses. But he had some help, his twin brother. So, according to witnesses, these guys tried to jump Karmelo. Now, when somebody it's one thing is one person trying to make you move or do something, but you got two people who are trying to jump you, intimidate you, bully you, put their hands on you and you defend yourself, and then one of them ends up harmed mortally.
Yeah, I want to stress that there is zero verified or credible evidence to back up this claim that Karmelo Anthony was jumped. However, I am looking for this evidence, right? If I find it, I will be the first person to show the world that, hey, Karmelo Anthony was jumped. However, I have not found it. I have not seen it. Apparently, there's video out there. We're still waiting for that video. Who knows? Maybe the video evidence will show that Karmelo Anthony was jumped. However, I doubt it. Again, there's zero evidence to back up this claim. And that brings me to what I want to talk about here today, which is a follow-up to the Karmelo Anthony press conference that was held by his team, right? A disastrous press conference, to be honest with you, in which you had Austin Metcalf's father, Jeff Metcalf, show up to the press conference, a press conference that was open to the public. And Karmelo Anthony's family decided to kick out Austin Metcalf's father because, according to his representation, Karmelo Anthony's representation, Austin Metcalf's father being at this press conference open to the public was disrespectful, okay? And the pro-blacks, the woke revolutionaries, seem to agree with that Austin Metcalf's father should not have showed up to this press conference. People like Tariq Nasheed, he is claiming that Austin father showing up to crash this press conference is a form of public harassment and intimidation. Okay, he says, is this where Austin Metcalf learned how to harass and intimidate and allegedly assault people? Does the apple fall far from the tree? Again, this is what the race hustlers are saying about Austin Metcalf's father.
Is this what's taught in the home? Because, yeah, the father had no reason going up there. You know, this is a very sensitive time. Why are you going to the press conference and trying to really sully the case to a certain degree? Because basically he went up there, you know, and people look at it as him trying to intimidate the family and their supporters. You know, his presence was likely meant to create an atmosphere of fear and discomfort. You know, this is on some Mississippi burning type thing. And people ain't going for it. Also, it looked like he was allegedly, we're talking about the dad. And again, people are saying that there's some real janky stuff on his record.
This guy knew he was out of pocket when he went to that press conference. He knew it. When asked by reporters, you know, what he was doing and what his thoughts were on the words from Karmelo's mother, who's to the left there, he said he just came by to hear what they had to say. He decides he wants to just show up, and he got on these dark glasses. Now, what he claims that he was just there to listen. The problem with that is he wasn't supposed to be there at all. He wasn't invited. He was asked to leave by deputies, which he did comply. But he wasn't supposed to be there in the first place. Now, had the shoe been on the other foot, and Karmelo's father would have showed up at a Jeff Metcalf, Austin Metcalf press conference, what do you think the headlines would have read?
Yeah, you know, something tells me that considering how Austin Metcalf's father said that he forgives Karmelo Anthony for killing his son, for murdering his son at the beginning of all of this, and that he didn't want to make it a race issue, something tells me that Austin Metcalf's father probably would have been okay with Karmelo Anthony's family coming to the press conference if Karmelo Anthony's family and their supporters were not acting like Karmelo Anthony is the victim, right? Like the Karmelo Anthony family is the victim here and not the family that actually suffered the loss of a loved one or the person that actually got stabbed to death, or basically over a petty dispute. So again, I think that Austin Metcalf's father is learning the type of people that he's dealing with. Again, I'm not just talking about the family here or the representation of the family, but just in general, the type of people that we're dealing with, because his house was just swatted last night, right? After he got kicked out of this press conference. You had these people go online and say it was disrespectful, that he shouldn't have been there. He was trying to intimidate, even though this was a public press conference. He had every right to be there if he wants to be there. They said no. That was an act of intimidation. And now, Jeff Metcalf, he has been swatted.
Better breaking news and an update on the deadly stabbing in Frisco. Frisco police just confirmed a swatting call was made tonight to an address belonging to the victim's father. Now, that's a prank call designed to bring a lot of police to a scene. Tonight, Jeff Metcalf confirms to WFAA he wasn't home when it happened, but he did arrive about 5 minutes later. Now, this is new information, and right now we're working to learn more details. But earlier today, everything stopped and heads turned when Metcalf showed up to a news conference called by the suspect's family. Tonight, Matt Howerton has a desperate plea from Karmelo Anthony's mother.
They came to speak for the accused. Jeff Metcalf came for his son. The father of Austin Metcalf surprised cameras at a press conference in Dallas Thursday, waiting for the mother of Karmelo Anthony to speak for the first time. Anthony, 17, now charged with murder, out on bond after telling police he stabbed Metcalf in self-defense. Metcalf's father asked to leave the press conference, and then it began like this.
The father being at this press conference. These are my words. Don't quote anybody. Is a disrespect to the dignity of his son.
Metcalf telling WFAA he was just there to listen.
I'm not here to create a disturbance. I'm just here to stand by and witness this press conference.
And shook the hands of officers before leaving. Since he was asked to leave the press conference, we asked Metcalf what he thought about those remarks. Thursday night, he told us he's not talking to any media right now.
Our family has been under attack.
Anthony's mother, Kayla Hayes, did eventually speak.
The claims that were used about the public donation to buy a home or anything else are completely false.
Emotionally denying her family has used any money from a GiveSendGo fund that's collected over $450,000. The internet has suggested otherwise and has flooded Hayes' family with threats, she says.
My 13-year-old daughter is afraid to sleep in her own bedroom.
At the presser, it was also revealed that Frisco ISD has moved to expel Anthony weeks before he was supposed to graduate. An accusation of murder on school property results in an automatic expulsion per the district's code of conduct. Anthony could appeal, and an advocate suggested that may happen.
Thank you, and God bless you.
The room emptied when the presser ended, but the temperature around this case didn't drop.
Yeah, so I just want to correct something real quick from the media, okay? Swatting is not just a prank to get police to show up to somebody's house. No, swatting is an attempt to get somebody killed. I think it's very important to understand exactly what the intent is behind people who use swatting, okay? Because when you call 911 and you tell them that there's some type of emergency at somebody's house, that there's some type of deadly threat, okay, at somebody's house, and the police show up thinking that there's possibly a deadly threat, that means that police are going to be on high alert, and that significantly increases the chances of there being some type of deadly encounter when police show up to the person's house, okay, that was swatted. Either the police get hurt or, again, the owner of the house, whoever's in the house at the time. Now, in this situation, Jeff Metcalf wasn't home, okay, when his home was swatted. But again, let's be clear about the intentions behind swatting. It's not just a prank, okay, it's an attempt to get people killed, okay? This is why swatting is very serious, okay? So with that being said, I want to talk about something real quick because I find it to be fascinating that the pro-blacks are focused on misinformation, right? They're focused on all of the rumors and speculation about what the family's doing with the money. Now, I am not one of these people that has made any claims about what the family is doing with their GiveSendGo money, okay? I have never made any claims that they're using that money to buy a house, to buy cars, to do anything. I don't care what they do with the money. I think that if they were smart, they would use that money to get the best defense attorney possible, because it looks like whoever's representing them right now not doing a great job. And again, their son's self-defense case is very weak, okay? So, you know, if I was them, I would use all that money on better legal representation. But again, I am just pointing this out because there's a lot of backlash towards conservatives for spreading some of this information, misinformation about what the family is doing with the money. I'm just saying that I have never spread that type of information, but I do find it fascinating how there's all these complaints when this whole narrative, the whole self-defense narrative coming from the pro-blacks and the woke revolutionaries is based off misinformation, right? I mean, it's one thing to be upset about misinformation, but it's another for the people who are upset about misinformation to also be spreading misinformation. In fact, their misinformation is much more dangerous and much worse than any misinformation about the GiveSendGo, because they're spreading misinformation. They are lying about what actually happened, right? I mean, they're lying about the actual facts that we have thus far for the case. And again, that's why I find all of this outrage to be so crazy to me, because it's like, if we're going to be outraged at the misinformation, you should be outraged at the fact that a lot of these people who, again, claim to be so outraged by the misinformation about the GiveSendGo, these are the same people that are claiming that Karmelo Anthony was jumped, even though there is zero evidence whatsoever that Karmelo Anthony was jumped. And that is their core story for why this is self-defense. That is one of the main reasons why there's so much money being sent to the GiveSendGo, right? Because there are some people who legitimately believe that he was jumped, even though, again, as of right now, as they're making up this video, there is no evidence to support that claim whatsoever, okay? So that And along with the fact that a lot of these individuals are just happy that a black teenager murdered a white teenager because they see this as revenge for George Zimmerman, Daniel Penny, Kyle Rittenhouse, even though all of those situations are radically different than what happened in this situation. They happened in different states, different circumstances. They were actual real cases of self-defense. This is not it. But again, apparently the woke activists, they don't know what actually happened in these cases that they continue to bring up as examples for why is it that this case right here with Karmelo Anthony is self-defense. Because if George Zimmerman and Kyle Rittenhouse and Daniel Penny is self-defense, this has to be self-defense, right? Except, again, they don't even know what happened. Like, for example, Exhibit A. Kyle Rittenhouse has responded to the woke representation for Karmelo Anthony, basically defaming him during this press conference.
Nobody in the public media has one video camera, but we got the video of Kyle Rittenhouse with an AK-47 shooting 3 people in the back.
Yeah. Kyle Rittenhouse using an AK-47 to shoot 3 people in the back. That's not what happened at all. Again, some of these people, again, are just bad faith actors, and a lot of these people are just stupid, right? They just don't know what they're talking about, okay? Again, Kyle Rittenhouse responds. He says, wow, some people are just plain old stupid. And then he says, should my attorney, real TJ Roberts, reach out? Yeah, so basically Kyle Rittenhouse low-key is saying, yeah, this is basically defamation, right? Like you are just saying things that are factually incorrect about what happened. And that brings me to this video that is going viral featuring Anton Daniels and one of his panels of individuals who is going to show us how ignorant she is when it comes to this topic, okay? But again, I'm showing this video because I want you guys to understand the type of people that we're dealing with here. These people are not living in the same reality that we are.
Name a white person that killed a black person that is not or have not been held accountable in the last 5 years.
George Zimmerman.
George Zimmerman wasn't even white.
Just say one thing. I just want to answer your question. Who killed who or whatnot. Kyle Rittenhouse was 17 years old, white boy that murdered two or three black kids in Michigan during a protest. He was acquitted on all charges. Jordan Penny, I think that's his name. He choked out that black homeless man on a train in New York recently, was also acquitted of charges. So, and I guess
neither one of those was killed. Stop.
But he was pointing out like why there could be. I know you don't think it's true, but there could be like a sense of white power supremacy in this country, because sometimes when white people do certain crimes, they're not held to the same extent as black people or other people do.
And this is exactly what I'm talking about. I'm sorry. Like, I just got to be 100% honest. The people that we're dealing with here, they're just not the brightest people, right? They're just not. Like, I can totally understand why is it that these people are so susceptible to misinformation. I mean, really at this point it's disinformation, because a lot of this stuff is just being put out here on purpose, right? I just kind of understand why a lot of people now don't understand. Well, how is it that Kyle Rittenhouse is self-defense? How was he allowed to get away with murder but not Karmelo Anthony? Well, because you don't understand what happened with Kyle Rittenhouse. She just got every single fact wrong. She just got everyone wrong. He did not kill 3 black people. None of the people that he killed were black. There were 2 people that ended up losing their lives, and it happened in Kenosha, Wisconsin, not Michigan, okay? And every single time Kyle Rittenhouse had to use his firearm, he did so in legitimate cases of self-defense. When he shot Joseph Rosenbaum was actively chasing him and told Kyle Rittenhouse earlier that he wanted to kill him. And then once he caught up with Kyle Rittenhouse, he decided to try to take Kyle Rittenhouse's gun. And that's when Kyle Rittenhouse shot him. Because if somebody's about to take your weapon, somebody tries to take your weapon, then that can be seen as them trying to use deadly force against you, right? At that point, you have reason to believe, okay, that your life is in danger, okay, enough to use deadly force. The shooting of Anthony Hubbard. Anthony Hubbard struck Kyle Rittenhouse with a skateboard. and tried to grab his rifle. So not only was he struck with a deadly weapon, yes, you can die from being struck by a skateboard. So using a skateboard is a deadly weapon. Kyle Rittenhouse shooting him, 100% justified. When it comes to the third guy approached Kyle Rittenhouse with a pistol in his hand. Okay. And he had pointed his gun at Kyle before Kyle ended up shooting him in the arm. 100% justified self-defense. None of these things come close to what happened with Karmelo Anthony. None of these things come close. But this woman has absolutely zero clue. She has absolutely zero clue about what happened. And, I'm struggling with whether or not I should blame them or should I blame the media. Right? Should I blame the fact that the media has lied about that case so much that people think things happened that didn't happen? Like, for example, Kyle Rittenhouse shooting black people did happen. So, again, a lot of these people that ask these questions of, well, how is it that George Zimmerman and Kyle Rittenhouse and Daniel Penny can get away with murdering people, but not Karmelo Anthony? Well, it's because you don't understand the cases. You don't understand self-defense. You don't understand the law. You don't understand anything. You lack understanding. It's not the system. It's not white supremacy. You lack understanding. Educate yourself. And the more you educate yourself, you're going to realize, wait, that's not white supremacy. These cases are different. And this is why. Okay? Once you learn that, you understand, it's not the system being racist. It's just I'm dumb. Right? That is the conclusion that a vast majority of these individuals would come to if they actually did some research. Right?
You were asking him to give names. I gave you two, and one was actually the same age as the guy, the black boy that just killed the white guy. And he was acquitted of all his charges. He was also a 17-year-old white boy in Wisconsin. And it's like, well, why was he acquitted when he actually murdered someone? You all are saying that,
because they didn't murder anybody.
They did, though. What do you mean?
No,
Kyle
they didn't.
Rittenhouse definitely murdered 2 or 3 people. Are you familiar with the story?
No, I'm not.
Okay, so you can't just make that statement then.
Yeah, but you aren't familiar with the story either. And every statement that you made was wrong. Okay? Anton Daniels, maybe he's not as familiar with it, but you are not familiar with the story, right? And you're wrong, but she doesn't know that. She doesn't know that.
I absolutely can, because if the court of law determined that they was acquitted of the charges, then that means that he's not a murderer.
No, that means that the system worked in his favor based on who he was, because that wouldn't have worked.
You can't just automatically say somebody is when they not, when they got tried in the court of law.
And the law is always fair, right? And the law is always fair, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely it is in this situation.
I'm gonna tap out. I'm done now.
Because if the evidence is showing that he's not guilty, then why would I say that he's not guilty? It's innocent until proven guilty in the court of law. Same thing for Daniel Penny. Now, I am familiar with Daniel Penny. I am familiar with what happened on the subway I think it was over in New York, right?
Yeah, it was New York.
I am familiar with Daniel Penny. 100%. And in the case of George Floyd, the police officer, the white police officer who was a part of the blue gang, the blue wall, absolutely got held accountable, and he got convicted, and he's in prison today. And I don't even think that was a race. I don't even think that was a race issue. I believe that was an issue of an individual, a cop, overexerting his power over somebody that should not have been in that position in the first place. But at the same time, he didn't deserve to lose his life.
Yeah. So again, these are the type of individuals that we're dealing with, guys. That's the point of this video, right? That's the point of this video, is that when these people ask, well, why ain't nothing happened to Kyle Rittenhouse? Because you're ignorant, right? That's why nothing happened to Kyle Rittenhouse, because you're ignorant, right? That's why, because you don't know the story. That's why you don't know. But see, their ignorance, okay, the answer to their ignorance is always, well, white supremacy. Well, it must be the system is letting them off because he's white. It's not because they're ignorant. It's not because they don't understand the story. It's not because they don't understand the law. Right? It's not because of any of those things, which again, that's the real reason. The real reason is because you don't understand the law and you don't know the story. That's the real reason. And the real reason is because you're misinformed. And the same people that again, they say, oh, we're so concerned about the misinformation about the give, send, go. The misinformation about the give, send, go has nothing to do with the actual case. But when it comes to the actual case and what happened, the people who are spreading the most misinformation are people who are defending Karmelo Anthony, saying that this is 100% self-defense. I'm not saying everybody that is saying that Karmelo Anthony acted in self-defense or spreading misinformation, but if you believe that Karmelo Anthony acted in self-defense, that this is a self-defense case, that he has a strong self-defense case, a vast majority of those individuals believe so based off the biggest piece of misinformation that's been spread about this case, which is that Karmelo Anthony was jumped, right? That is the biggest piece of misinformation. And that's why I find it so ironic how the people who are boohoo whining and crying about the give, send, go misinformation, these are the same people that, again, are spreading, again, more dangerous, okay, and more relevant misinformation about the actual case, okay? That's the irony here. So, you know, again, the point of this video is to highlight that, again, a vast majority of these people, again, we're just not dealing with very smart people. We're just not, which doesn't surprise me, again, considering the racial dynamics of all this, that, again, a lot of these people who believe that somehow, some way, that this is the same as Kyle Rittenhouse or George Zimmerman or Daniel Penny are just not very intelligent, right? It doesn't surprise me at all, okay? But, yeah, either they're not very intelligent, they're bad actors, and then in some cases, you have people who have good faith beliefs that this was self-defense. It's just that as of right now, those arguments are just not very strong based off the evidence. But let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.